pretty clear about where they needed to be. So what you need to know is that I'm qualified to deliver whatever this bigger box is. You need to know that I have a track record to deliver what this bigger box is. And there's the third thing.
Yeah, there's a sense of what are you going to bring? I know you're qualified, but what's that going to mean for me? How do I know that you're going to make it work for me?
Well, I suppose the final part of it is conviction. I need to be able to stand in front of you and say that I am passionate. I have a conviction about what I'm doing. Is that what you mean?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So that I'm not loose or weak about it. I can look you in the eye and say that what I'm trying to sell you is going to give you the opportunity to stand and deliver and communicate whatever it is you're trying to communicate in a way that is direct, effective, and gets the deal, whatever you decide the deal might be. So I suppose we're in this second, if we figured out how we're going to stand, and we figured out what we're going to stand for, which is a sense of values, I suppose. It's issues to do with trust. It's to do with integrity. It's to do with confidence. It's to do with conviction. We're kind of onto the third thing.
Yeah.
The third thing is I suppose for number one, how do I stand? For number two, what do I stand for? Number three is particularly in the current climate is the really difficult one. It's really the difficult one. It's right over to you folk, and it's me figuring out that the game is different now, and I need to figure out where I need to take time to look and see where you guys are, where you folks are coming from. I need to observe what's going on out there in the big bad world. I need to figure out, I need to ask a series of questions, and I need to listen to what the answers are. In the old days, like 6 months and a year ago, a lot of this didn't necessarily have the same currency that it has now. A lot of us were doing great, and a lot of us were playing the same game in the same way as we've played before and before. Now things have moved. As I say, the world has changed beyond recognition. We need to observe what's going on out there in a much more honest and straightforward way.
That's right, yeah, because I think what we're talking about is that if you go back to that idea of moving the world, of moving people, you got to have some sense of what it is you're going to move, because if you're carrying a weight, if you're my customer and you're carrying a weight that is very, very heavy for you, I need to have some understanding of what that is before I can even begin to hope that I might find somewhere that I could stand so I could move that for you or help you to move to where you want to go. So it's not enough that I kind of stand and say, I know, how I can do things. It's not enough that I simply say that I've got a good understanding of what I bring to the table. There's a hugely important partner in all of this. It's your customer, it's your audience, it's the world, it's the people that you want to help to shift from one place to another. And that's where we've got to move into a much more proactive, a much more physically active mode.
In terms of the acting school that I'm running, I was faced with big crisis, maybe 5 weeks ago. And it was whether the business was going to continue or whether it was not going to continue. And I spoke to Jared about this, spoke to a number of people, spoke to my accountant, spoke to a lot of people. And I really had to figure out, more than I've ever done before, more than I've ever considered it before, what do they, the public, what do they want? They want exactly, the acting school was founded and the phrase that I developed maybe 10, 15 years ago was this phrase, confidence and creativity. The Gaiety School of Acting, the National Theatre School of Ireland, confidence and creativity. That's what we were selling, 5 or 6 weeks ago, I had to stop. And I spent a lot of time on my own, in my office, first of all, figuring out what the hell am I going to do with this thing, to either keep it going or to let it go. And I took time figuring out, this private time was just terrific. I'm busy. I'm one of these busy guys, and the idea of downtime or quiet time or anathema to me. But I forced myself to sit in my office early mornings, afternoon, late nights, just figuring out what am I going to do with this thing? What am I going to do? And these questions, these very same questions that we're talking about, was where I went. And it was about stopping and figuring out what did the punter, what did the person who's going to buy, what did the audience that buy courses in the Gaiety School of Acting, what did they require, what did they want? And I went to talk to them. I phoned them up. I spoke to people who'd done courses before. I asked them what the positives were. I asked them what the negatives were. And built a campaign on the back of the Irish Times, major giveaways, all that stuff, built it up. And quite aggressively turned the corner, Now, whether that was because we did that, well, I think it was because we did that, because I think the alternative would have been same old, and I don't know whether we'd be where we're at now, which is open for business, and numbers are extraordinarily very, very positive. I'm down about 18% on where I was last year, as far as the acting school is concerned. But it's about that business, as we're talking about, getting out there, stopping, observing, what is the culture out there, what are people going through, asking questions and listening to what people have to say. I'm kind of this busy guy, and the art of actually listening to people saying, that course was way too expensive, or that course, I couldn't get to it, or it was at the wrong time. Those things are things you need to listen to quite carefully in this situation.
Exactly. So there were three things that we need to do, and in many respects they echo what we talked about in the first section. There's that sense you have to stop and observe. You've got to look at what's happening. Actually look. Take the time to stop rushing about, and we got to look, don't we, to see what's happening in the market, see what's happening for our customers. But it's not enough that we simply look, because we may be seeing things that aren't there, or we may be misinterpreting what's there. We've got to ask questions. Would you agree? We've got to ask our customers what's happening for them. And finally, then we got to actually listen. We've got to listen to what our customers are saying. So what does that sound like or look like in practice?
It's about ownership, you know. It's about owning taking ownership of what you buy. Again, I mean, I don't want to bang on about this acting school thing, you know, all the time. But I'm trying to roll out before next Monday some kind of a loyalty scheme.
When we talk about putting all of this together, we need to get out amongst our customers. We've really got to stop hiding and running away from those encounters and asking the questions. A little like we've done just now, but you've got to get out yourself and ask people, what's it like to be doing business in this environment? What does it feel like? Where are you coming from in it? What's working for you? What's not working for you? And what you have to sell, what you have to buy, what does that need to look like? Because if it looks like what you were selling 2 years ago, the likelihood is that people aren't going to want to buy it.
The great opportunity that we all have is we have a chance to do things a little bit differently, to dust it down the old ways, just dust it down, polish it up, freshen it up, and see whether what you're selling is actually going to be bought. You know, and the purpose of this discussion that we're having is to try and put you right back at the heart and soul of what it is you stand for. Yeah, of course, there's 100 tips I could give you about, you know, the presence and the delivery and the breathing and the gesture. I could give you, you know, we could. That's. Shay, I'll offer that workshop for you someday for nothing. All right, that's another day's work, right? But you know, what we're saying is if you put that business of how do I stand, like how do I just take time to figure out me, and if I marry that with what do I actually stand for, this business of having values and qualifications and conviction and clarity and integrity and trust, and I put that together with answering those questions about where an audience is coming from. We're kind of the view, and if you like the kind of the result of what we're trying to bring to you or share with you is that it's when you put 1 and 2 and 3 together that you're in a position to actually take a hold of the lever that we're talking about and actually move something to where you want it to be, whether it's move your audience or whether it's to move people's mindsets or whether it's to sell something quite aggressively or quite directly or to take a completely different approach. But I'm kind of, the purpose of this evening really is to take you through those 3 stages. You know, 1 of how do I stand, 2, what do I stand for, and 3, what do they stand for, and to observe and to ask questions and to listen to what they have to say. And we're kind of the view, very much of the view, that if you take those things, if you take the time to figure out those issues, then you're in a far better place to figure out where you do stand, what you do stand for, and how you can go and move the world, move the situation.
Thank you very much for listening in to our conversation, and we're open to questions or observations from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.